Good morning / afternoon / evening, everyone. We've all encountered them, the people who drain our energy, manipulate situations, or make us question our worth. They show up as colleagues, family members, friends, or even strangers online. But here's the thing, we don't have to give them the power to control our emotions or dictate our self-worth. Today, I want to share 7 clever ways to deal with toxic people, not with anger, not with resentment, but with clarity and courage. One of the most powerful ways to deal with toxic people is by setting clear, firm boundaries, and doing so without guilt. Many of us struggle with boundaries because we've been conditioned to believe that saying no is rude or selfish. We've been taught that accommodating others, even at the expense of our well-being, makes us good people. But let me ask you this, how many times have you said yes when your heart was screaming no? How often have you overextended yourself, ignored your own needs, or allowed someone to cross the line just to avoid conflict or disappointing someone? Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are guidelines that teach others how to treat us. They communicate what we will and will not tolerate, ensuring that our relationships are built on mutual respect rather than manipulation or obligation. Why do we feel guilty about boundaries? Guilt comes from a deep desire to be accepted, liked, or validated. It creeps in when we fear that saying no will make us appear selfish, unkind, or ungrateful. Toxic people prey on this guilt. They might say things like, "Wow, I thought we were friends. Can't you just do this one thing for me? You've changed. You used to be so much more understanding. Oh, so you're too good for us now?" These manipulative responses are designed to make you second guess your boundaries, but here's the truth. Setting boundaries doesn't make you unkind, it makes you self-respecting. How to set boundaries without apology. Be clear and direct. Toxic people thrive on vagueness. If your boundaries are weak or unclear, they'll find a way to push past them. Instead of saying, "I don't think I can," say, "I won't be able to do that." Instead of saying, "I'll try to make it," say, "I won't be attending." Drop the justifications. You don't need to write a novel explaining why you're setting a boundary. The moment you start over explaining, toxic people will look for loopholes. A simple, "that doesn't work for me," or "I'm not comfortable with that," is enough. Hold firm despite pushback. Expect resistance. Toxic people aren't used to you saying no, so they will test you. They will push, guilt trip, and manipulate to get their way. Stay firm. The moment you waver, they learn that with enough pressure, they can break your boundaries. Remember, boundaries protect, not punish. Some people feel guilty because they see boundaries as a way of shutting others out. But boundaries aren't about punishment, they're about self-care. Imagine you have a beautiful garden. Would you leave the gate open for anyone to walk in and trample your flowers? No, you'd protect it, not because you're cruel, but because you value it. Your peace, energy, and well-being deserve the same level of protection. Release the fear of disappointing others. Not everyone will like your boundaries. Some will be upset, some will leave. But the people who truly respect and care for you will honor them. The right people won't require you to abandon yourself just to keep them happy. Final thought, guilt is temporary, but self-respect is forever. The discomfort of setting boundaries lasts for a moment, but the consequences of not setting them last a lifetime. If you constantly give in, you'll find yourself emotionally exhausted, resentful, and disconnected from your own needs. So the next time someone makes you feel guilty for setting a boundary, ask yourself, would I rather disappoint them for a moment or betray myself for a lifetime? Choose yourself every time. One of the most effective ways to deal with toxic people is to stop giving them the reaction they crave. Toxic individuals thrive on chaos, conflict, and control. They push buttons, stir drama, and manipulate emotions because they feed off the energy of your response. When you react with anger, frustration, or defensiveness, you're playing right into their hands. But when you remain calm, detached, and in control of your emotions, You take away their power. Why do toxic people try to bait you? Toxic people have different motivations for trying to pull you into their negativity. Some do it because they enjoy the emotional control. Others do it because they feel powerless in their own lives and seek validation by upsetting others. Here are some common tactics they use. Guilt tripping. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me. Gaslighting. That never happened. You're making things up. Personal attacks. You're always so sensitive. No one else has a problem with me, playing the victim. I guess I'm just the bad guy no matter what I do. Deliberate provocation. Saying something offensive just to see how you react. These tactics are designed to get a reaction out of you, whether it's anger, guilt, or emotional distress. The more you react, the more control they gain over the situation. The power of not engaging. When you refuse to take the bait, you send a powerful message. I am in control of myself. I do not give you the power to dictate my emotions. Here's what happens when you stop reacting. The toxic person loses interest because their manipulation isn't working. You conserve your emotional energy instead of wasting it on pointless arguments. You gain a sense of empowerment by staying calm and collected. And you stop fueling the toxic cycle and break free from their influence. How to avoid taking the bait. Recognize the pattern before you can stop taking the bait. You need to recognize when it's happening. Pay attention to who consistently triggers you and how they do it. Ask yourself, does this person always find a way to create drama? Do they always turn things into an argument? Do they twist my words or make me feel guilty? Once you recognize the pattern, you can start responding differently. Pause before reacting. Toxic people want you to react immediately because they know an emotional reaction will cloud your judgment. Train yourself to pause. Take a deep breath, count to 5, or even excuse yourself from the conversation if needed. A moment of silence can be more powerful than 1,000 words. Respond with neutrality. When someone is baiting you, give bland, neutral responses instead of engaging emotionally. Here are a few examples. If they insult you, okay. If they try to guilt trip you, that's your opinion. If they provoke you, I hear you. If they twist your words, I'm not going to argue about this. This technique is often called the gray rock method. And you become so dull and unreactive that the toxic person loses interest in you. Set emotional boundaries. You don't owe anyone access to your emotions. If someone constantly tries to get a rise out of you, remind yourself, I do not have to participate in this game. Instead of explaining yourself, defending yourself, or justifying your feelings, simply disengage. Toxic people can't argue with someone who refuses to play along. Use humor or deflection. If someone is trying to start an argument, respond with something unexpected, like, wow, you must be having a really bad day to be this upset. Hope it gets better for you. You seem really passionate about this. I'll let you have this one. I don't have the energy for this conversation. Let's talk about something else. This not only disarms the toxic person, but also prevents you from getting emotionally drained and know when to walk away. Some people are committed to misunderstanding you no matter what you say. If someone refuses to communicate in a healthy way, you are not obligated to keep engaging. Walking away is not losing, it's protecting your peace. If necessary, limit contact or remove the person from your life altogether. Final thought, silence is your superpower. When you stop taking the bait, toxic people lose their grip on you. They may try harder at first, but eventually they'll realize their tactics no longer work. Every time you choose calm over chaos, peace over drama, and self-control over emotional outbursts, you reclaim your power. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their negativity, remember, you do not have to attend every argument you're invited to. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. Many people associate it with weakness, but in reality, it is one of the greatest displays of strength. When we allow ourselves to be open, honest, and authentic, we create deeper connections and build trust. Vulnerability is what makes relationships meaningful. It's the foundation of love, friendship, and true belonging. But here's the hard truth. Not everyone deserves access to your vulnerability. Toxic people see vulnerability as an opportunity, not a gift. Where healthy individuals respond to openness with empathy and support, toxic people see an opening to manipulate, control, or hurt. That's why learning who to be vulnerable with and who to protect yourself from is crucial. Why vulnerability is powerful. Before we talk about protecting your vulnerability from toxic people, let's recognize why it's so powerful in the first place. It builds genuine connections. The deepest, most meaningful relationships are built on honesty, not pretense. When you share your struggles, fears, or dreams with the right people, you create a sense of intimacy and trust. It increases your strength, not your weakness. Being vulnerable doesn't mean being fragile. It means having the courage to show up as you are without hiding behind a mask. It's about saying, this is me, flaws and all, and I'm still worthy. It helps you grow. When you acknowledge your struggles and open up to the right people, you invite growth. Vulnerability allows you to receive support, learn from others, and heal. When vulnerability becomes dangerous, while vulnerability is powerful, it must also be protected. Toxic people will use your openness against you. Here's how. They weaponize your pain. You confide in them about a past struggle, and later they throw it back in your face during an argument. No wonder your last relationship failed. You're impossible to deal with. They use your insecurities to manipulate you. You admit feeling insecure about your abilities at work, and suddenly they start making subtle comments that make you doubt yourself even more. Maybe you should stay quiet in meetings. You don't want to embarrass yourself again. They act supportive until it benefits them. At first, they seem like they care. They listen, offer advice, and make you feel understood. But when the time comes, they exploit what they know about you for their own gain. They betray your trust. You confide in them, thinking your words are safe. Later, you find out they've shared your secrets with others, twisting your words for their own benefit. Toxic people don't see vulnerability as a sign of connection. They see it as leverage, and that's why you must be selective about who you trust with your heart. How to lead with vulnerability while protecting yourself. Be selective about who you open up to. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. Think of your trust like a gate, not a wide open door. Before sharing deeply personal struggles, ask yourself, has this person shown consistent kindness and trustworthiness? Do they listen without judgment or gossiping? Do I feel safe sharing with them, or do I worry they'll use this against me? If someone has a history of manipulation, cruelty, or betrayal, they do not deserve access to your vulnerability. Test their trust in small ways before handing someone the keys to your most personal thoughts. Test their trustworthiness in small ways. Share something minor and see how they handle it. If they gossip, dismiss your feelings, or use your words against you, stop sharing. Keep emotional boundaries in place. Being open and vulnerable doesn't mean oversharing. It's okay to keep parts of your life private, especially around people who don't make you feel safe. Protect your energy by deciding what parts of yourself you share and with whom. Recognize the red flags of a toxic listener. If someone does the following when you open up, reconsider sharing with them. They constantly shift the conversation back to themselves. They mock or dismiss your feelings. They repeat your words to others without your permission. They act supportive in private but criticize you in public. They use your emotions to control or manipulate you later. A person who cannot handle small truths about you should never be trusted with big ones. Find safe spaces for vulnerability. Just because some people don't respect vulnerability doesn't mean you should shut down completely. Instead, find healthy spaces to share, whether it's with trusted friends, a therapist, or supportive communities. The key is not to stop being vulnerable, but to be vulnerable with the right people. Final thought. Vulnerability is a privilege, not a right. Your openness, your truth, your struggles, they are not for everyone. Just because someone demands to know more about you doesn't mean they are entitled to that access. You don't have to share everything with everyone. You don't have to explain yourself to people who refuse to understand. And you certainly don't have to be vulnerable with those who have proven they will only cause harm. Instead, lead with vulnerability wisely. Keep your heart open, but protect it fiercely. Share your story, but choose your audience, because your vulnerability is a treasure, not a weapon to be used against you. Every person you meet carries their own story, their past, their beliefs, their wounds, and their way of seeing the world. But here's the trap many of us fall into. We let other people's narratives define us. Toxic people in particular are masters at distorting reality. They twist words, manipulate emotions, and project their insecurities onto others. If you're not careful, you can find yourself internalizing their version of your story, a version that makes you feel small, unworthy, or responsible for their dysfunction. But here's the truth. Your story is yours. It does not belong to them. Owning your story means standing firm in your truth, refusing to let others rewrite your narrative, and defining yourself on your own terms. It means recognizing that while toxic people may try to project their pain onto you, you are not required to carry it. How? Toxic people rewrite your story. Toxic individuals manipulate narratives in subtle but powerful ways. Here's how they do it. One, they make you the villain in their story. No matter how kind, patient, or understanding you are, toxic people will often paint you as the bad guy when you set boundaries or refuse to meet their unreasonable expectations. They'll say things like, "You've changed. You're so selfish now. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? You're the reason I act this way." These statements are designed to make you question yourself, to make you feel like you're the problem, but in reality, you are simply refusing to play a role in their unhealthy script. B, they project their insecurities onto you. Projection is a defense mechanism where people take their own flaws, fears, and shortcomings and assign them to others. A toxic person who feels inadequate may accuse you of being the insecure one. Someone who is dishonest may constantly accuse you of lying. Before internalizing these accusations, ask yourself, is this really about me or is it about them? More often than not, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own unresolved issues. 3, they dismiss your reality. Toxic people hate accountability, so they will often gaslight you, making you doubt your own experiences, feelings, or memories. They'll say things like, language never happened. You're making a big deal out of nothing. You're too sensitive. This manipulation is designed to shake your confidence and make you second guess yourself. But remember, just because they refuse to acknowledge your reality doesn't mean it isn't true. 4, they expect you to carry their burdens. Some people refuse to take responsibility for their own problems, instead blaming everyone around them for their unhappiness. They'll expect you to fix them, heal them, or sacrifice your well-being to accommodate their dysfunction. But their wounds are not yours to heal. Their choices are not yours to justify, and their unhappiness is not yours to fix. How to reclaim and own your story. Owning your story means refusing to let others dictate who you are, what you believe about yourself, and how you move through the world. Here's how you take back control. 1, define yourself on your own terms. Ask yourself, who am I outside of how others see me? Toxic people will try to tell you who you are, but only you get to decide that. Write down your values, what truly matters to you, your boundaries, what behaviors will you accept or reject, your truth. What do you know to be real regardless of what others say? You are not who they say you are. You are who you choose to be. 2, stop explaining yourself. You don't have to justify your choices to people committed to misunderstanding you. If someone constantly misrepresents your intentions, stop trying to prove yourself to them. Instead of engaging in endless explanations, try responses like, I'm not going to argue about who I am. You're entitled to your opinion, but I know my truth. I don't need your approval to be at peace with myself. Your energy is better spent living your truth than trying to convince others of it. 3, separate their story from yours. Not everything people say about you is about you. Their reactions, judgments, and criticisms are often reflections of their own wounds. If someone constantly tries to make you feel inadequate, remind yourself their insecurity is not my burden. Their need for control does not define my freedom. Their unhappiness is not my responsibility. Let them carry their own weight. You have your own journey to walk. 4, trust your own perspective. If someone is constantly making you doubt yourself, it's time to trust your own perception over theirs. Some ways to do this include journaling. Write down your experiences as they happen to remind yourself of the truth. Checking with trusted people. Talk to friends or mentors who see you for who you truly are. Listening to your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Your intuition is wiser than you think. 5. Stop accepting roles you didn't sign up for. Self-acceptance can protect you from toxic people. Will try to cast you in different roles: the villain, the fixer, the doormat, the emotional punching bag. But you do not have to accept those roles. You get to decide your own narrative. If someone expects you to be their emotional crutch, you can say, I care about you, but I can't be responsible for your happiness. If someone expects you to tolerate their mistreatment, you can say, I respect myself too much to continue this conversation. If someone tries to define you in a way that doesn't align with your truth, you can say, that's your perception, not my reality. 6, embrace your story, even the hard parts. Owning your story isn't just about rejecting toxic narratives, it's also about embracing your own truth, even when it's difficult. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are not the opinions of people who don't see your worth. Your story includes struggles, setbacks, and lessons learned, but those do not define you. What defines you is how you rise, how you grow, and how you choose to live moving forward. Final thought, reclaim your narrative. At the end of the day, toxic people will try to write your story for you. They will twist, distort, and manipulate the truth to serve their own agenda. But their version of your story does not have to become your reality. You get to decide who you are, what you stand for, what you allow into your life. So stand firm, hold on to your truth, refuse to live by someone else's script. Your story is yours. Own it fully, unapologetically, and with unwavering strength. Dealing with toxic people is never easy. They manipulate, provoke, and attempt to rewrite your story in ways that serve their own needs. They push boundaries, take advantage of your kindness, and thrive on control. But here's the most important truth. You are not powerless. By setting firm boundaries without guilt, you protect your mental and emotional well-being. By refusing to take the bait, you strip toxic people of the power they crave over you. And this really starts with choosing to accept with pride the toxic people are not important. By leading with vulnerability, but not to them, you ensure that only those who truly respect and support you have access to your heart. And by owning your story instead of letting them define it, you take back control of your identity, your self-worth, and your future. Toxic people will always exist, but they do not have to hold space in your life. You get to choose how you respond, who you invest in, and what kind of energy you allow into your world. Every time you stand firm in your truth, every time you walk away from drama, and every time you protect your peace, you reclaim your power. So as you move forward, remember this: you are not responsible for fixing toxic people. You are responsible for protecting yourself. You are not obligated to shrink for anyone's comfort. You are allowed to stand tall in your truth. Choose your battles wisely, guard your energy fiercely, and live your life unapologetically, because the strongest people aren't those who engage in every fight. They're the ones who know when to walk away. And that strength is yours to claim.